Welcome to the Ownership Matters podcast, where we're going to sit around and talk about why ownership matters and what does that mean.
So basically for us, ownership matters for several reasons. We all three sit around with business owners at a table every single day, and typically we are helping them after the fact of a fire. So we're going to go through what that is, how we're implementing that in our life, and how to save you from that.
And by we're here with Brad Scott, a business broker, Aubree Denekamp, accountant, bookkeeper, everything, and Danielle Byford, a business attorney.
All right. So I think the question, why does ownership matter? What are some of the biggest things we see? Why does it matter? And let's dig into that a little bit. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about each one of what we do, how we got here, and why people may or may not be interested in what we have to say. Let's go ahead and start with Danielle. And Danielle, how did you get here?
By two wonderful people that joined my circle years ago. And through that, we built the relationship and the foundation. But more closely, so becoming a business attorney, working with other business owners, learning the struggles they faced through their business ownership, and then reflecting on myself being a business owner and having two partners here to hold me accountable. And that's what brought me to this table. And then I want to express what I have learned along the way through not only my experience in business ownership, but my representing of other business owners, and to share that with others to hopefully give them a roadmap for their success into the future.
Quick question. Did you always know you wanted to be a business, intellectual property, all-encompassing business attorney?
I did not. I would say an interesting roadway to get where I was at. So starting from a whole different practice area, litigation, navigating through in-house counsel, to mid-sized law firm, to small law firm, to owning my own law firm.
Cool. Very cool. And Aubree, same for you. So how did you get here today? Why are you here? What made you interested in this project and helping the people the way you do?
Yeah, it's kind of what actually created my whole career path to begin with. Is my dad was a small business owner, and I started out like cleaning his office, doing filing in the office, all of that. That moved into bookkeeping when I was about 14 years old. And then as I started to get older and actually was formally becoming educated, specifically regarding the tax strategy and the law behind that, as well as the compliance issues and the liability he was opening himself up to. For example, he was a sole proprietor. He had a pretty successful business and was like liable for keeping the family going. But on top of that, he was having about $100,000 tax bill when that could have been eliminated to about $20,000 just with one paper alone in 1 year. So things like that, as I started learning it, I realized the gap in the market. And it's something, what brought me here today is working with business owners every day. I see that the most is that usually it's, hey, I've gotten a letter in the mail from the IRS, or I've done this, or I've gotten sued by an employee. What do I do next? Versus, hey, here's where I'm at and I don't actually know what I'm doing. What should I be doing in protection of that? So that's what brought me here today, filling in those gaps.
For your own question.
I have to answer my own questions now. Why am I here at the table? Well, first I drove here, so that's terrible humor. But no, I've always been interested in business in some capacity. I don't know where that came from exactly. My dad was always a very, very structured in his profession. So he was in the military for 16 years, went to West Point, wanted to play football for West Point. And then after he retired from the military, he became an orthopedic surgeon. So I'm like, how does that happen? He's a very smart person. And then I was just like, well, what do I want to do? I saw my dad go to work, but I was always interested in businesses and how they work. I've tried several, and I would say failed, but learned at a variety of different things. I was in sales positions. I was in restaurants. I then eventually went to law school and focused on business, intellectual property type stuff, estate planning, real estate law, and then continued with entrepreneurial aspects of that. I guess the real world experience is like, oh man, I've already done this as a business owner and in practical terms. It helped me very much when I was practicing as an attorney and now as a business and commercial real estate broker.
Yeah, which I think is great. And especially with online, I mean, there's so many different resources out there. There's so many different ideas. There's so many different laws and structures that you can have hands on to, but they don't always protect you and they're not always right for your situation. Correct. So I think mitigating and figuring out your way through that is a big part of what we're here today for.
No, I agree. I agree. All of us have come together in the sense that how can we help people learn from our experience, not just our own learning situations. We're not going to call them failures. We're just going to call them learning situations. And then how we've helped others and learned all kinds of different businesses. I'm interested in your thoughts on this, is like how people and what their businesses are and how they make money and how they make a living and provide for themselves has fascinated me. We're like, when we're young, we're like, are you going to be a firefighter? Are you going to be a police officer? Are you going to be a nurse? Are you going to be an accountant, doctor, whatever that might look like? And there's so much more that exists. So
I realize there, as a business owner myself, is that gap in providing that professional services to business owners, where sometimes I think where I found the mistakes I made or why the ownership matters was not reaching out to the various parties to bring them into the same circle. And so that's also why I brought myself to this table today in 3 different capacities, and I think expressing that to others. So is that
I think it's 3 different perspectives, right? Mm-hmm. We have legal expertise at the table, we have accounting expertise at the table, we have selling and real estate issues at the table that people are running into day to day, just from structuring their business to write-offs to expenses to those types of things. And being able, and most people, by the time they think they need our help, there's a lot of cleanup and it's going to cost,
absolutely.
Right? So,
I would say most of the time it costs a lot more at the end of the day if you've already gone down that path.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's the other reason, like you said, that's why I'm here. That's what I hope to help people avoid, gain some knowledge from real life examples here. It's like, we're here to provide a different perspective from different areas of expertise, and then start bringing other people in that were like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How is that helpful in business?
Well, and at the end of the day, every single business should be looking at several things. They should be looking at, one, being compliant in what they're doing, like making sure that they're not setting themselves up for a lawsuit or having something bad happen to them or not being covered if something were to happen to them. Secondarily, a big part of that is understanding what the money does. Like, I see business owners a lot of time being really good at making money, really good at doing whatever that trade or service is, but understanding how to manage that, what to do with the money once it's there, or have it be efficiently working for them is typically the last thing on most people's mind. So they definitely need that financial piece and whatever that is, whether it's focused on like really getting towards retirement or tax strategy or wherever that is. But then from your end too is a lot of people are like, hey, I'm going to do this till the end. And then it's, oh, I got an offer on a business I'm selling this month, or I want to get out of here now. But the problem is like that can cost you millions of dollars if you're not doing things within a several year time frame to not be hit with tax implications at the very least, but I'm sure legal as well if you're getting out of different agreements or partnerships or if you have stocks to sell. But every business should be looking at that truly from day one. And that's overwhelming. A lot of businesses don't have cash flow. They don't have these different resources to get there. So it's also bridging the gap there. It's making it not so overwhelming and, hey, I can't do this or I'm not big enough to do this, because truly every business is at that point. Starting a business is.
And I think the other point of your question is many people go at it alone and try to do it themselves, right? We're sitting here as 3 different people. We own and operate our own businesses. People come to us for our advice in a specific area of expertise. The 3 of us at the table, the reason we thought it was so interesting is we have those different perspectives, like a real team, a real cohesive team to help people, and people like us. Business owners need a team like that. They need advice from all 3 perspectives, if not more, right? There's more people that we need in the fold too, right? But we're starting here and we're saying, hey, this is a group that can help provide you ideas, tips, war stories, that type of stuff from 3 different.
Yeah, I agree. And so to your question that you had about this is where I've seen people make a lot of money. I mean, it's so broad range from, you may say you make a lot of money, but at the end of the day, you're still a negative net worth because you didn't manage it correctly. But yeah, so from business ownership, from growing to scale and then selling and then you're out, to partnership buyouts where both partners grew and you got a buyout and now you're moving on, up to the more interesting examples of, hey, I was in a car accident and I got a big lump sum from an insurance company. So it's just a very broad range, and then what you do with that money. So I've seen it all kinds of different ways. Unfortunately, I don't fall into any of those categories and had to work hard.
No, agreed. How about you, Aubree? Where's maybe the weirdest, or you're like, I didn't know this business makes money?
Yeah. So right now, just because it's so rampant and like one of the biggest things they get at tax time for calls for is influencing. So whether that
Okay.
is Amazon reviewing or other sorts of services, it's interesting how much that can generate with basically no capital up front. You are starting a free social media account and then building it, whether that is on Amazon reviews, whether you bought it from Amazon or not, and are still just reviewing products that you can post a video to, and or putting it through all different platforms, which can expand in several different categories of fields. But I find it amazing how many people who are stay-at-home moms or doing X, Y, and Z have become the breadwinners by X amount. Because at first, when I started seeing all this stuff a couple of years ago online, I'm like, this is all BS. Like, no way. Because like some of it was crazy, you got to see. And I do believe a lot of that is like not real and very fake. But I've had a few clients that are fully Amazon reviewers, not at all on social media. Like they're just online to their reviewers. And it's incredible what that can actually generate when done correctly. But affiliate marketing, it's basically what it is. But it's interesting. I didn't understand that, and I hadn't really worked with a ton of clients that were doing that just because it wasn't as popular, I think. But I find it fascinating. So right now, I'd
They
say
can
that.
make a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I mean, it's fascinating because business concepts and things that we deal with apply to most, if not all, I don't want to be so general, most, if not all business types.
Yes.
Right? They all have their own quirks. They all have their own things. We hear about niching down and people can charge more and make more money when they niche down. But oftentimes niching is more of a marketing thing too. Right. And so for one of the craziest businesses, it's not as crazy to me now, but when I'm like, people make money doing this, is there's companies out there that will be the third party. They do everything like the MVD does, right? Like, you can go take your eye test, you can go get your passport, you can go and they literally set it up, and they're more efficient, they're faster. You hear MVD horror stories. The amount of money those businesses make was just fascinating to me when I first came into the practice of law. Again, I go back to my comment about, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, go be a accountant,
Yeah.
the professions, right? And people make money in crazy different ways. And they set up a very successful, efficient business and made tons of money making something that's miserable a little less miserable.
And I think what you're getting at there is really anything could be a business. If you look at the codes for when you set up an EIN or the IRS and it asks you, what is it? Like, it is a huge broad range spectrum of any type of ownership. And I think that's what we come to. It could just be you, or it could be an enterprise of multiple people. So a business ownership could really just be you, yourself, nothing else. You're doing reviews on Amazon, but through there, you have a lot of compliance and a potential exit strategy that you need to have in place for that money that's coming in. And that's just one person. But if you scale it, you could have a team of others helping run what you're doing through Amazon reviews.
Well, that was the other thing about the people at the table that's interesting. I think I'm a smart person sometimes, but then I'm like talking to you two over the last several years, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I'm not as smart as I thought I was, So to me, that's why being at the table is interesting. Is that we're just like the other business owners. We're learning. We've learned from their mistakes, our mistakes, other people's mistakes, and so I think that's kind of cool too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think some of my biggest growth has been watching other people make mistakes, and then obviously your own are just a little bit worse.
Even giving advice between us. I think we've all used each other in some capacity.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So I think that's cool. And then this has come about.
Absolutely. So outside of what's the craziest of making money, what is the craziest mistake you see regularly? So not just like, that was wild one time, but like, is there something you run into where you're like, okay, people need to really not do this. Don't do this.
Well, I'd be interested from the legal perspective, kind of what we see first, because compliance, there's often either business license or formations or something. So I'd be interested in, Danielle, what you have to see, kind of one, two, or three. What are the first three things you should be doing, or the first three things you see people not doing that maybe they should, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So the biggest mistakes that I see, and when they come to me and we do the corporate cleanup, is if it's just themselves, so they missed getting an LLC set up because they thought they can run it themselves. So they missed that first avenue, which gives them into a compliance protection area to a 2-person team, and we're friends, everything's working out well, we're 50-50, and they don't get anything in writing, and a couple years later things don't go as well. So those are the 2 biggest ones, and those often result in the biggest compliance issues, because if they try and go to a bank to set up the bank account and they can't do it because they don't have the EIN, they don't have a separate name, or they're running everything through their personal, so business, personal, it's all getting mixed up. They have their personal email that's also taking in their business emails. They're going out, and it's just they're combining everything personal from business, and ownership needs to be separated. So you, from your individual self, need to be separated from your business ownership. They really should be 2 different things that you're doing.
And so
but they should be, you take into consideration both.
So is that the concept, I think, a legal concept of commingling, right? Like we're separate from our entities, right? And then doing the right things to set ourselves up separate from the business that we're running, even though we may be the term technician, right? I'm a lawyer, I'm a business broker, you're a lawyer, you're an accountant.
We're wearing all
like
the hats.
we're technicians. So is that
Yeah,
is that
so
term
you
correct?
may be wearing all of the hats. And if you have, and business owners are notorious for setting up multiple businesses, right? And so then it's making sure that each of those hats that you're operating in, you can switch out your cowboy hat from the gray one today to the brown one tomorrow. So that way you're keeping them separate. And then when I can pass it off to the accountant, they can be like, okay, now everything is set up and we can give you those tax breaks. And then when you come along to, okay, here's our exit strategy, and I know we can sell this business because this is your profitable item. Here's what we can sell it for, and you can keep your baby so you can pass it on to your children, and now it becomes your grandbaby that you're passing along.
Yeah. Well, and I think people hear that a lot, like, okay, I need to be separate than my entity, don't commingle. But I think people don't understand the reason for that, because a lot of people are like, oh, don't worry, you're going to be so happy. I got an LLC before 12/31 last year. It's going to be great. And I'm like, okay, that does nothing for your tax return. Like, yeah, we could put the EIN versus your social and like the legal name. But outside of that, like under just yourself, getting the 1099 does the exact same thing from a tax standpoint. But it does not at all from a legal standpoint. And then that's kind of where it goes into the commingling about protecting your assets. So if your business is sued, it's not coming after you, but I'll let you dive into that since you have all of that knowledge, obviously, and you advise. But I think people don't really understand that. We hear it all the time. We're like, oh, yeah, I get that. I know. But I don't think many people understand what that separation means, that means they can't necessarily come after your house if your employee, trips going into a driveway and you have the right insurance and all of that. But I'll let you kind of dive more there.
So I think that's a topic that we're definitely going to address, because I think that would take way more than
That's probably true.
this first episode. But yes, that is one of the ones that I think we will do a full dive into why to keep them separate, and then the advantages that gives you later down the road, whether that's because we're all parents, but business owners that might not be parents that do want to pass it along to a potential seller. They're not going to come in if things are commingled and they do an audit of the books, and
Correct.
Or you come and you're like, oh, I want to grow really fast, and so I need a loan, and you get the SBA coming in, they're like, oh, we can't give you a loan because you don't have an operating agreement, or say you have an operating agreement, but you're a corporation, so you're supposed to have bylaws, and people are like, I don't know the difference.
What's a bylaw?
Yeah,
What's a bylaw? I'm a LLC. Wait. Those
but you
don't
registered
match.
as a corporation,
Yep.
and now you're like, oh, but I have shares. And you're like, no, you can't have shares because you're an LLC. You actually have units. Like, it's a whole other.
So for whoever is listening, we just threw a lot of legal counting mumbo jumbo at you, right? And,
Which will get edited
and
out.
those are things that we hopefully discuss, because they're things that we know we're talking about, but hopefully we can unpack. So I wanted to go back to the question and kind of summarize your answer, though, right?
Yes.
It sounds like the question was, what are some of the 3 things when people are starting out they fail? And it sounded like they're not filing the right entity type and setting themselves apart from themselves, which then we jumped into our commingling conversation. The other thing is getting an EIN, and then when you do have partnerships, it sounded like you said if operating agreement, which dictates, and correct me if I'm wrong, the expectations that the partners have with each other and people outside of the LLC. Correct? Would that be a good
Yes.
summary of the first three issues? So my next question to Aubree would be the same. What are the 3 things in setting up their books, their bank accounts, their chart of accounts or accounting or payroll or something like that you see people make?
The biggest one is either electing as an S-Corp too early or not electing for one at all.
Okay.
That is a big expense and a big compliance if you do not have the revenue there that would support the deduction and the actual tax savings. The second one is not actually doing any sort of accounting. They're like, okay, I did what you said. I got a bank account. But that also goes into, okay, like where are all the expenses coming out of? Like where are you paying your truck for and the insurance and the workers' comp and all of the other pieces because they're not in the bank account. So I know bookkeeping is very like overrated and boring to talk about, but it's really the foundation of what leads every decision that you're going to go through, every compliance issue, every audit down the line, selling your business, any of that. It's very important. And then the third one would probably be not having correct agreements in place. So like not having employment agreements with an NDA or a non-compete. So someone just, takes your client loan and starts a new business or anything kind of within that. A lot of people are coming to me at that point of like, okay, now I need help. What do? I need to get my books clean to try and get a loan or to do whatever financing so I can pay lawyers. And it all really stems from they're not compliant to begin with. They didn't have any of those protections in place, but that'd be a big part I see from the beginning.
So there's a lot of different ways people can elect to be taxed when they set up an entity or go into business for themselves. We'll get into that later. And one way I think we hear a lot is a tax strategy is electing to be an S-Corp. And we can get into the tax benefits of an S-Corp, but oftentimes it doesn't make a lot of sense until you start getting that 50, 60, 70,000 range. And so some people, maybe Brad, who has no income, no contracts, no nothing when I start my business, I'm like, oh, I heard that I should start an S-Corp, but Correct. It doesn't make sense yet because the compliance of that from accounting fees and filing fees and other things are actually quite costly up front, and you're not ready for it yet.
Absolutely. Okay. And you're not actually getting a tax savings. So you're filing an extra tax return because now you're separate from your individual return, but you're paying payroll costs, whether it's annual, quarterly, to have a payroll essentially. So you're having all these pieces. It's costing a lot more money, but there's no actual savings, which we can go into it another time.
Yeah. And then the last thing was kind of like, we just went into business. We don't have our contracts or agreements even set up for the service we're going to provide.
Correct. So you could be great at having a service, making the money, but someone could just take it from you, or you could be sued for whatever you've made too, if just simple precautions.
So people are like, oh, handshake deal. I'm going to do this for X or provide you X for Y.
Yes.
And they don't even protect themselves and that they have no protection. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And then for me, on the commercial real estate and business aspect, numbers are very important there. Most people, what's funny is we hear all the statistics about how many businesses fail. We hear the statistics about how many don't make it 3 or 4 or 5 years. And even there, it surprises me though, that how many make it past that, but still don't have clean books.
Mm-hmm. They'll make it to the end.
Or somehow, maybe they're really good cash flowing and profitable businesses, but they ran it via cash.
Yeah.
And sometimes put money in. They use different credit cards. And so that is very, very hard. If you're like, hey, my business has value, or I think it has value. How is this not valuable? I made $400,000 every year. Like your books don't tell that same story. And as a buyer, if you don't set up, and they're always going to review your books. Like that's how you're going to get valued. That's how the bank's going to loan if someone's trying to buy your business. So that's one of the things I see. And it's really hard to clean up later. So a good accounting method for your own business in, money out, tax advantages is probably the number one thing I see. The next thing in at least the business brokerage side, and this is hard, I think, for everybody. You have all this knowledge in your head and getting it out into paper on what you do every day and how you run your business or the things that matter to become efficient and replicable. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Is how your secret sauce.
Yeah.
How do you bring a client in? How do you push them through your internal process? How do you offload a client? And that's hard to document. And I know we've talked about it. It's hard even for us. I'm like, oh no, I reviewed their contract, or I help them buy real estate, or I do their books each month, but I don't otherwise hear from them once a year. So like even in our own businesses, it's interesting. Like, oh, I just do it. People, when they go to buy, specifically if it's more of investment and someone's not buying a job, which is something we'll most definitely talk about buying the road. But if Brad Scott buyer wants to invest in a business or buy a business that has a management team, I want to know that secret sauce because that's what I'm buying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that's the issue. Numbers first. Where's the money going in and out? And then what's the secret sauce? Why am I buying your business? People call those SOPs or something like that, but that's what matters and makes a business more valuable. The documentation of your business. And then I kind of wanted to touch on real estate. Real estate is so interesting to me because it's created a lot of millionaires and billionaires, and there's a lot of tax advantages and things surrounding real estate. But that's the other thing. People will get their first business. They're going to rent some sort of commercial space and they have no idea what the lease says.
Yeah.
This is the biggest mistake for people leaving their job and starting something and signing a commercial lease for the first time. They don't understand the various lease types. They see base rent is, oh, I need 1,500 square feet of space. It's $2,000. Oh, just kidding. It's $3,000. Where's this extra $1,000 coming from? And there's things like common area maintenance fees, triple nets, all these other things, depending on the type of lease. And you use the terms interchangeably that people just don't understand. And it ends up being way more than they budgeted for. And then they're filing bankruptcy and the landlords are just leasing it out. So people need to understand and get some advice, whether from an attorney or a broker. If they found a space, then go hire an attorney. Like there's all kinds of ways to attack it to understand your budget is for that issue. Again, your business can still fail, but at least you at least budgeted and actually understood. Oh, it's not $2,000 a month; it's $3,000 a month, and then my utilities, and then anything else.
Yeah.
So I would say those are the three biggest frustrations in my line of work and what I'm doing now that I see when someone's like, Brad, I want to sell. I'm like, well, I need to see these, and oh, Brad, I need to get into a commercial lease. You're not ready for a commercial lease, and that breaks their hearts, but it's helpful for them. So I think that that stuff's actually very interesting. And I think those first three areas were actually very interesting from all of us. So any follow-up questions to what anyone said there?
I mean, I agree with both of you guys. I see that daily with different business owners. And I think it's something that people don't think they're neglecting or they think they're doing incorrectly because they just don't know until it's shown to them or told to them or something hits them in the face. So I think that's what we're here to do at this table here. Yeah, no, and so that's the question. Like, what does having the right team on your side help prevent? And some of those things are the things we just discussed.
So I think it'd be having the right people on your team. But when you're an owner, you're already running the business. And so being able to go to the team that can help facilitate that compliance, the bookkeeping, getting all of that in order so that way you can focus on running the business, getting it to a point of profitability where you're running a comfortable life, but being able to delegate, hey, I can trust Aubree to run my books. She can coordinate with Danielle to make sure that my contracts are in place, operating agreements in place, and then we'll coordinate with Brad to make sure that the lease that they're signing that they can afford or that they have that exit strategy in place. So being able to go to the team, which I think is what we're trying to build here is, hey, you're not just getting legal advice, you're not just getting bookkeeping advice, but we're pulling it all in together. So that way we can help your business grow, succeed, get it to where you want it to go so that way you're comfortable. Not that you need to grow to scale to exit, but you might be comfortable with what you're doing. And so we're just helping fill those gaps there.
Yeah, and I think that it brings it full circle, right? Full circle is I wanted to go and do X by myself as someone leaving my job. I wanted to go do that thing, but oh my gosh, I now need to be a payroll expert. I now need to be a marketing expert. I now need to be a bookkeeping expert. I now need to be my own general counsel. I need to be my own operations manager when I've never managed people before. I was just a really good X, Y, or Z.
But you don't. You just need a team.
You don't. You really do just need a team, and you need to have the right people. And that's the other thing that I think brought us to the table that we haven't addressed yet. There's a lot of people that don't work well with others, professionals, and don't provide maybe a holistic or a sustainable advice or advice in conjunction with other folks. And so I think people that have been in an industry for a while that are giving good advice, that can work with others. You know, you hear the term quarterback a lot, and it's like, oh, I can be the quarterback for that. I'm like, I think having an actual team is trying to actually quarterback this for you so you can go run your business.
Yeah, because the quarterback isn't the one who wins the games, right? You have 11, not football, 11, 12 people, 12 people out there, however many out there on the field. Or, you know, the basketball, like there's not a single sport out there where it's just you. Even golf, you have somebody there with you. There's not any single one out there.
Wait, so you're telling me the coaches and the caddies of the world are important? We're giving bad sports analogies, folks. So here we go. Now
Really
we're going.
bad.
Now
This
we're going
is
sports
not
talk.
A sports.
But
Definitely not.
No, but I think too, on top of that, is you could even have brilliant people focusing on a plan and making their own plan without taking other plans in consideration.
Yeah.
And those don't always work together, or you don't always get the benefit that you're looking for once you combine all of that. So having people who are talking together, looking at the plan, making sure you're getting the client's best interest in mind too, is a huge thing. And it's not easy to find or have the time to be going to outsource all of these different people or the finances to hire everyone in-house sometimes.
Correct. Because again, some people need all these services and they're like, oh, I can't afford a CEO yet. I can't afford a manager yet. I can't afford an HR person. I can't afford an advertising person. But a lot of these things that you need done in your business can be done by third parties.
Yeah.
And I think we've been lucky that we've seen a lot of different business types. And we're like, oh my goodness, there's a business that helps another business owner do said thing. So those will be interesting conversations with people as well. So again, folks, if you're interested in learning more about that, please reach out, please submit your questions and let us know if we can help out in any way.
Don't forget to hit follow or subscribe below. Looking forward to seeing you soon.